And I went to a lot of trouble to shoot it off of the television instead of just taking the recording, which I could have done. And it's still blocked in 187 countries. I tried to protest, but of course, no one can protest against the capitalist rights owners.
Right.
But, I think I have a case for it's a legitimate piece of art because it is my experience of the TV, not just what was on the TV. And not only that, and some of them, I speak to what I hear. So I've created a new thing with that.
Yeah.
And for them to say I can't is trying to say, they have control over my experience. So there's no point in, seeking out a way to fight it, but that's a case that I'm building. Let's see where it goes.
One of the things that this says that I tend to agree with is literally phenomenology is the study of phenomenon, the appearance of things or things as they appear in our experience, or the way that we experience things, thus the meanings have in our experience. And people want to argue with you about your experience with the thing itself. They want to argue with you about it. They want to tell you that you are wrong about your perception or about the way that you experience something.
Yeah, they know where you've made your mistake. Yeah. See, I don't have time for that at all. I'm not.
Which is why standing on phenomenology. I mean, I have no problem making phenomenology the dominant philosophy in my world. Okay. That phenomenon. We are phenomenon-driven creatures.
Yeah.
We are not. We are not rational. We are not, we rationalize all the time, but we are not rational.
If
we
Americans
are phenomenal.
Were rational, Trump wouldn't be leading.
Well, exactly.
So.
But that's part of his appeal is that he is appealing to the people who have phenomenologically interacted with the world in such a way that they are angry as hell with the way things have turned out for them. And he is button pushing those things and manipulating them into thinking about how angry they are as white guys, how angry they are as people who think that Mexicans are taking their jobs even though they don't want to be bricklayers and roofers. He is manipulating that. And that is phenomenological in and of itself.
Yes.
But it all is. I mean, to me, everything's phenomenological.
Yeah.
It's, we are standing in a river of phenomenology, and it flows around us and causes us to move and turn and spin because that is the nature of the thing. Yeah. Life is phenomenological. It is not structural. There is no structure to life. It is, it happens around you. Stuff passes by you. You experience it, and it changes you for the next experience, and the next, and the next, and the next.
I know. And if you hadn't had those experiences, you wouldn't be the person that you are.
Exactly.
You'd be someone totally different. You're a sum total result of your phenomena thus far.
Right. And you can't, there is, it's all well and good. I actually just recently came across a thread about finishing. Well, it was a blog. A blogger had written an article about it's okay not to finish your PhD. Okay. Now, I've struggled with that for years, the not finishing of the PhD. I am ABD. I have a chapter and a half to go on my dissertation, which will never be completed because I don't want to.
That's a good reason.
Most people who have PhDs will tell you that is not a good reason, but I disagree.
Oh, well, because they've already gone through everyone who's joined the club and done what the hard thing thinks, well, if everybody else quits, then my effort doesn't mean anything.
Well, I think that's a large part of it, but it is also, I think, that they feel, most people feel like, well, and this was the gist of the threads, that you spent all that time, you might as well finish it. No, that is not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is
the capitalist way to look at it.
Well, it is the capitalist way to look at it. The way to look at it, however, is that there was a time, and this is the way I look at it, for me, personal experience, there was a time when the PhD made sense to me and was something that I wished to accomplish. Things changed.
Yep.
Phenomenology happened.
Yep.
Whatever you want to call it, my life became other directed. It was no longer directed toward getting a PhD, and I still struggled for 3 years trying to say, okay, I'm just going to finish it. Okay, I'm just going to finish it. But the problem is that I wasted 3 years thinking that I should finish it. And periodically go back over that ground again, thinking, oh, I should have. Now it's not possible to do it now because it's been too long. And mainly it's a matter of money. I could finish it, but I can't afford to finish it at this point.
That's the only reason. Money.
The other part is, why did I want to be that person that did that thing? And what would academia changed. There are 1,000 different reasons. But the fact of the matter is, I became other directed. I did not want to finish it. Okay? There was a time when being ABD was fine. You could still get a job as a professor with ABD.
I don't know what ABD.
All but dissertation.
All but dissertation.
Right.
Okay.
All but dissertation. And there were lots of people.
So that's a level above master's.
Well, you get your master's degree, then you go through all of your coursework for your PhD. You take an exam, and you are admitted to candidacy for your PhD. Okay. You are now a PhD candidate, and that makes you all but dissertation. Basically, you finished your coursework. You have finished every single hoop that they wanted you to pass through, except turning in a stack of paper or whatever they take now,
right?
That says, I know a whole bunch of stuff about a little tiny microcosm of this field that I'm in.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then, once you've jumped through that hoop and sat down with a bunch of people who don't know as much about what you just wrote about as you do because they didn't write about that thing, and convince them that you know everything there is to know about the thing that you just wrote about, then they agree that you can join the club. They give you the secret handshake, and you get your degree. Well, at some point, it just became ludicrous because I knew what was ahead of me. One of my friends in school, she had a PhD in theater and she was Russian. She had a PhD in Russian theater. Okay.
Whoa.
And she was Russian.
Uh-huh.
And she had immigrated to the United States, I don't know, 40 years ago. She's about the same age I am. Actually, she's about 10 years older than I am. So at the time that I was finishing my coursework and becoming ABD,
Mm-hmm.
she was going through tenure at KU. Her husband was on faculty in the Russian department. She was applying for tenure to half in Russian and half in theater. And she passed her tenure in theater, but the Russian department would not give her tenure. Therefore, she did not get tenure. After you don't get tenure, you have 1 year to get the hell out of Dodge.
Oh, jeez.
Now, bear in mind that this is a woman who is 62 years old. She has lived in our town all of her life, raised her children in that city.
Yeah.
Her husband is a tenured professor at that school. And now she has to leave. She can't work there anymore.
Is it politics?
Oh, for her in the Russian department? Sure it was. It was because she was a woman. Theater department was happy to have her. She was brilliant. But the Russian department didn't want her because they didn't want her. Because she was an old woman, basically, you know.
Jesus.
And I started doing the math, and I thought by the time I'm going up for tenure, I'll be the same age that she was going up for tenure. And at that point, I most likely won't get it because of the way that I will be looked at both from a political standpoint and a misogynistic standpoint, because academia is sadly quite misogynistic.
Still.
When I started grad school,
Mm-hmm.
there were 3 women in the PhD program in theater.
Jesus.
3.
Yeah.
The school made a concerted effort over the next couple of years to recruit more women into the program. And by the time I left the program, there was some, there was parity, basically. But I can't tell you how many classes I sat in where I was the only woman in the class and would have people, really reasonable male colleagues, look at me and say, "Don't take this the wrong way, but," and then make some horrifically sexist remark. And you'd go, exactly how, I mean, this is what I would think. It was like, what would be the right way to take this? But because you want to survive in this environment, you go, no offense taken. I just, it was astounding, and that happened even in 1990.
The thing is, it's still,
we're talking 1995. We're not talking 1965.
I know. Nikki's gone through the same thing. She's got her master's.
Yeah.
And she's out in the field, and people are going, "I can't believe you have a master's and you're out here doing this." She knows how to do it. It's something that needs to be done, but also she's a working woman archaeologist, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I have a friend who